Hello, everybody. So, this has been quite an interesting year. It's one hell of a way to kick off a new decade. So I thought, let's go back to a simpler time, or another decade, the 90s. Now, the 90s was a time where technology didn't reign supreme, where, putting it like that sounds like a Terminator film, but it was like, I know people always have like the argument like, oh, well, we had technology back then. True. But there were no smartphones, no tablets, not everyone had the internet, not everyone had a computer. I mean, usually it was like one computer per household, give or take, and it was like a family computer. Not everyone had their own personal one. And it wasn't as easy today that you could like tinker around with it and make it more like advanced. Well, you know what I mean, right? But that being said, growing up in the 90s, one of the many things I always remember is all the crazy fads we had. So I thought I'd take a look back at some of the ones that I remember fondly and some of my personal memories with them. So the first one is Pogs. These crazy little cardboard things with pictures. That's pretty much all they were. I mean, it just shows you the kind of imaginations we had back then. These were literally just little circular pieces of cardboard with pictures on them. There was different themes, like, there was Charlie Brown, Yin Yang, here we got Space. What the heck is the niche one? Yeah, whatever. But there was different themes. That's the one I was looking for. Michis, I remember that one. And there was like that, what the hell is he? I could have sworn whatever. There was that guy, he kind of looked like the honeycomb craver. I think his name was Pog. He was like the mascot. I think his name was Pog too, and he was like, basically was like, that was another theme, was like all these different wacky things he was doing and stuff. One of the themes that I had, most of them I think the ones I had were just random designs and stuff, but it was the arcade that used to be across the street from my mom's house, which I've mentioned in some of my other videos, or many of my other videos, was I remember at one point they had like this little candy crane machine in there with like all kinds of little knickknacks and stuff. Like, remember those little neon rope wristband things? But there was a couple of Pogs in there, and it was like, I think they were called Robo Surfing. They were basically these animal robots surfing. Like, there was, God, I had a bunch of them, which I got all from that machine. I had a rhino, an elephant, an alligator, pretty sure I had a gorilla, some kind of pink and yellow bird thing, and then maybe like one or two others or something. But it was funny. I remember, like I said, these were literally just little things in cardboard, but we went nuts over them. I mean, God, my mom, my siblings, and I have an older brother and sister, and the three of us all collected them. We each had our own collections. And our mom would come home from work and like stop by the store and pick up a couple of packs. So then my siblings and I would like open them all up and take turns picking ones to add to our collection, and we'd get into fights like, I wanted that one and stuff. Now, Pogs also came with these metal ones. Sometimes I think they were plastic, but most of them were metal. They were called slammers, and I never actually played the game, but I think my sister did a couple of times with a friend. But basically the way it worked was you'd put a bunch of them on a stack together, and then you'd whack the slammer off, and basically the ones that were right side up, or picture up or picture down, those are the ones you got to keep, or something like that. Now, a little bit of a side note, one of my favorite toy lines of the 90s were Z-Bots, these little miniature robot figures, which I've talked about in a number of videos. I'm actually thinking about doing another video about them, like at some point, like some of the obscure toy lines of the 90s that they were obscure, but I really liked them. I actually got the idea from the channel Loch SNES Monster, who, he's more of a gaming channel, but he does that too. He does a lot of like obscure toy line videos and stuff. I'll put the link to his video in the description if you want to check it out. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing these up is because at one point, Z-Bots were actually at Burger King. They had a, part of the Burger King Kids Meal toy, and these toy lines came with Pogs themselves. Like, it was like the Burger King Kids Club characters, like Lingo and IQ here. For some reason, it was dinosaur ones. And then, of course, there was Pogs of the Z-Bots, which I got a few of them right here. You can kind of see what they look like. Yeah. Now, the next fad, which I can't remember if this one was before or after Pogs, but it was Fanny Packs. These things were convenient for the time. I remember I had one. I think my brother... Oh, that still fits pretty good, too. But this one I actually got from a... that 90s loot box, gift box thing that I did an unboxing of last year. I'll put the link to that video in the description as well, if you want to watch it. But these things were... Most people wore them for like jogging or like hiking and stuff. I always brought mine to the arcade with me to put my tickets and stuff, and they were convenient for the time. Now the next one I know came out in the mid-90s, and that was the Macarena. Yeah, that was one of those songs that it was like... I think it was like one of those things the first time, a couple of times you hear it, and it's like, oh, this song is cool, and it's catchy and everything, and then after a while it's like, yeah. But, oh god, I remember 90s, that song was everywhere. It was at weddings, it was at summer pool parties, it was at Halloween costume parties. You walk into a grocery store, it's playing on the radio, and then the song just kind of faded into obscurity, like nobody really talks about it anymore. Now the next one, this is going to take a second, because I've got a huge pile. Ooh, going into the late 90s, like 97, 98, we got a huge wave of fads, and one of those was Beanie Babies, which I got a lot more of them, but this is just, yeah, I was going to dig them all out. Now, Beanie Baby, God, I remember Beanie Babies, although they were a craze, which, you know, I got a bear and a tiger, there's a cat, pterodactyl, a dog, butterfly, spider, which I think was like one of the originals. I think I already mentioned the tiger. Another cat, aardvark. It's like jester bear, a tree frog, alligator. Which I think I might have two of. An iguana or something. Another cat. Red, white, and blue eagle. A dog that looks like Lassie. I think her name was Cassie. Wasn't it? Wait. Open. Yep, Cassie. Another dog. Whale. But anyway, yeah, these, God, I remember how huge these were, and like, it was one of those like top dollar things that like people were like paying, were, you know, I mean, especially because some of them were like limited run, so everyone was like going crazy trying to buy them and collect them and stuff. That's kind of what I was for. I was just more to collect them, which, this is pretty much why I never got into Funko Pop. You can see why. But where was I going with this? But yeah, it was funny. This was one of those things that people, they thought down the road they were going to be worth a lot of money, which turns out they weren't. Like, I remember, you know, especially with all the limited run ones and special edition ones. Like, there was the one for Princess Diana, the Princess Diana bear, which everyone thought that was going to be worth a shitload of money down the road, which it wasn't. I remember my sister had that one. I think she still has it. And it was funny. It was, where was I going with? That's another one. I was like this one, the little colorful cat guy. I think his name was Kaleidoscope or something. Kooky, wow, I was way off. But anyway, yeah, these, my brother had about maybe 5 or 6 of them. My sister had a good dozen or so. I had probably 60 or 70 of them. I still have them all, too. I just didn't dig them all out. But, yeah, these things were like, they actually, even though they were like a fad, they actually ran into the 90s. I mean, into the 2000s, excuse me. I remember there was a, this plaza where, a grocery store I go to, there's like a couple of other things there, like there's a Dunkin' Donuts and like a pizza place and stuff like that, but there was a number of places that came and went there. One of them was like one of those places that sold like a little, I think it was called like Cards and Kids, because that's what it sold, was like cards and like calendars, little knick-knack type of things. They always had Beanie Babies, and pretty much every time my mom and I went in that store, I had to get a Beanie Baby, or 2. But yeah, those things, now the next fad, which came around this time, was Gigapets and Tamagotchi, which I was more into the Gigapets. Like, Tamagotchi was more of a, like an alien type of thing. Gigapets were more, it was like a cat and a dog and a dinosaur. I had the dinosaur, which, it was just a little Tiger Electronic. It was basically a virtual pet by, you know, big responsibility. Of course, when you have the real thing, it's more worth it. But yeah, it was like this little virtual pet thing which you had to feed and bathe and play with and stuff, and yeah, it was pretty big for the time. It was a funny little thing to play with until the charm of it wore off, like fads tend to do. Then I feel like they kind of combined the whole thing, the like Beanie Babies with Gigapet, and they made Furby. I mean, in a way, they were kind of the same. It was both of those things together. It was like this little furry electronic animal that you had to take care of. Like, of course, most of the time it would just sleep. Like, you'd tip it over and it would wake up, and then you had to like, you go like that, and it would go wee and stuff, and you like put your finger in its mouth, and it would go like, oh, I'm hungry, and then you'd like push its tongue down or something. My sister had the one that was all white. Then I had the one that was like different shades of gray, and it had a pink stomach. I forget what happened to mine. I think it like I think the batteries corroded inside of it or something, like. But yeah, my sisters, I remember, like, she had gotten one first, and then I think I got one for Christmas or something, because I was like, oh, I want one now too, or something. I was probably 10 years old or something. And so 10 or 11. I remember my brother and I were like fooling around with my sister's Furby, and then when it was like talking and stuff, and you went to sniff its face, it's like, oh, it smells like burning metal. It's funny how some of these things came back too. Like Tamagotchi came back, Furby came back, Pogs technically were back at one point. I saw them at Target, but they called them caps. But it was the same idea, pretty much. That I don't think they're still there now. But two of the fads that I remember, like in the very late '90s, which kind of ended with these ones, was one of them was called Silly Slammers. There was little beanbag things with funny faces, and you like slam them, and they'd say like things like "Oh yeah" or something. Like it was just, I don't know. Again, it was just another fad. And then the other one was, I don't know if I'd call this a fad or not, because they're still around after all these years, but it was the fingerboard things, which, God, I remember, like, I was going into 6th grade, and, like, almost everyone in my class had one. And I had a couple of myself. I had, like, the Pokemon ones or something, but that was another thing that was, like, everywhere, and they're still around. Like, I've seen them in, like, Target and Walmart and stuff, but I don't know. I've never really seen anybody talking too much about them anymore, but clearly they're still popular, or selling, because they're still in stores after all these years. But, yeah, I feel like fads will always be around. Like, I remember a few years ago when we saw fidget spinners, and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely a fad. But it was like, I'm not gonna, like, shit all over it, like, because, like, look at some of the stuff we had back in the 90s. So, yeah, I just wanted to take you back to a fun time when we had all these crazy little fads of the 90s stuff. Are there any more that you remember, or any personal memories you have with these ones that I talked about? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a nice day, everyone.